Hello everyone, this is my third video of The Alabaster Girl by Perrion. Here is the book right here. Pretty cool cover. So I'm going to be covering the chapter called The Way of the Natural. Now this chapter is by far my most favorite chapter in the entire book, and it's by far the largest chapter of the book too. So I'm probably going to be breaking this down into a couple or 3 videos, guys, so bear with me here. A lot of great stuff, a lot of really like aha moments in the book, in the chapter. Um, really great information and advice and just life experience from Zan. And this is the stuff that works. It's not like some guys it'll work for, some guys it won't. If you apply the stuff in this chapter, I mean the book overall, but this chapter, it really will work for you. Um, you know, so I guess like when they say natural, when a guy is natural with women, I really don't think he was just born that way. Like no guy is just born with like natural game, natural. He's naturally gifted with women. I really think he was in the right environment and he had the right experiences and the right successes, which gave him that momentum, and he's always had it ever since that happened, right? So, but I believe that any one of you that are watching this video can become a natural. So people can become a natural. It's not like you're born with it or you're not. Anyway, so a lot of great stuff in this chapter. The first thing I want to talk about is this chapter is all about characteristics that make a man magnetic to women, right? And it's not about looks, it's not about the money you have or the power you have. And those are things that most men concentrate on. And, I'm not shit talking those things, and neither is the book. The book doesn't say, oh, you should live in a shack, be a hermit. Those things are great, and yes, they do have an effect on your dating life, absolutely. But it's not an end-all, be-all in that regard, right? So some of the characteristics that Zan talks about in this chapter it's an indomitable love of life, right? So that just basically means you're happy with yourself, your life, your position in life. You're at ease. I mean, you're working towards bigger goals, of course. You're always trying to improve, but you generally love your life, right? Um, when you really love life, that's going to reflect in your body language and your posture, how you talk to people, how people perceive you, right? Very important. The next one, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but the next one is a sense of aliveness, right? So just being alive makes you happy, right? Just being present in the moment makes you happy, right? The next one I like a lot is an irrepressible audacity. Irrepressible audacity, right? So what that means is you're not afraid to say certain things. You're not afraid to push boundaries, in a fun, playful way, right? You're not afraid to flirt, to talk to strangers, people that you come in contact with in everyday life. You're not afraid to, put yourself out there, right, and take risks. Be a risk taker, right? I really can't tell you how valuable that information was to me. Quick side note: um, when you're in like a cafe or something at the store, and you see a very attractive woman, and she's in like your vicinity, like you don't have to like go like walk over to her like a mile away, and every guy is going to feel uncomfortable. That's never going to go away. You're never going to be completely uncomfortable, not uncomfortable. But when you take a risk, right, when you go over and talk to her, doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what happens, but the fact that you're taking a risk is what's very attractive, Because how many guys do you think really do that? Not a lot. I'm telling you right now, your competition is very little. So definitely be audacious. Audacious is a very attractive trait, right? And the next one is an overwhelming sense of fun, right? So women don't want a boring guy. They don't want a monotone, like just beige colored dude that just like is boring, right? It's not fun for anyone, right? So you got to really learn how to just, have fun, like be able to do things and really, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be mopping the kitchen floor, but there's a way to do it where you have fun, and that's very attractive to women, right? When they can be around a fun guy that makes their life more fun, right? And the last characteristic is a supreme and ever abiding love and admiration for women, right? So this does not mean that you're the nice guy, the doormat, like, oh, I'll do whatever you want, you can always call me, you're always doing favors. That's not what this means, right? But like in the last video, I talked about how some men, and I fell into this trap too, they get bitter, right? They get bitter at the world, they get bitter at women, they get bitter at just their lives, and they really essentially play the victim, and they're like, oh, it's me against the world. And it's really like a vicious cycle and a downward spiral, because nothing's going to get better with that mindset. That's a poisonous mindset that you guys have to kick out at all costs, right? So supreme and ever abiding love and admiration for women, that's a characteristic that these quote unquote naturals have that make them so attractive to women, right? So that's basically what I like about the chapter so far. And the next thing I want to talk about, very, very cool idea, and it's basically the power of curiosity, right? So Zan talks about this is probably the number one thing that you have to learn and get good at to really master, getting better with women, and not just women, but just your life and networking and and meeting new people and just having a better life, right? You have to learn to be curious about the people you meet and come to contact with. And there's always a way to be curious, even if you have to artificially manufacture it. Find a way to be curious about other people, right? That's going to open up so many goddamn doors for you guys. You have no idea, right? And I can attest to it. It definitely works. I have been a little self-centered in the past. I have been a little standoffish in the past, and it didn't get me anywhere. Not with women, not with making friends, not with, socializing. So I knew I had to change something, and reading this in this chapter really was like my aha moment, So this is a quote that Zan has in this chapter. It says, "A true lover never talks about himself when he sits down with a woman," right? A true lover never talks about himself when he sits down with a woman. Very, very, very interesting. And maybe some of you guys watching this already know this, and that's cool. You're ahead of the game. I was never good at this, and my dates, they were kind of boring. They didn't really go anywhere, and I never really understood why, So one of the mistakes that I made, and I know a lot of guys make the same mistake, is they just do rapid fire. Like when you're on a date, or if you're talking to a woman you just met, they do like rapid fire questions, like bam, 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 like a salesman, like a job interview. Where are you from? What do you do for work? Do you have any kids? Do you live around here? What's your favorite color? Stuff like that. Like those are very, very boring questions that are really gonna just lead to a boring conversation, right? It's so cliche, and it's so predictable. Like that's the number one thing. Like you don't want to be predictable, right? So instead of those questions, Zan proposes stuff like, what is she passionate about? What does she believe? What does she love? What is her dream? Where does she want to be in 5 years from now? Like stuff that really gets her excited, stuff that's fun to talk about, and people don't ask her these questions on a daily basis. She's not used to these questions, right? So you're really going to stand out. Um, Zan says, be quizzical in tone, and she will come alive in the conversation. And it's really true. He talks about the concept of, and I happen to believe it and understand it. It's women are gonna give you back what you're giving them. Like they're gonna kind of reflect the energy that you bring to them in a conversation, right? So he says we teach women how to treat us, right? And I quote, the supreme task of men when it comes to women, this is the supreme task of men when it comes to women, is to teach them how to teach us. So what that just means is, you have to show up with the energy that you want to have back to you. I know I just totally messed that up. But I hope you know what I mean. Like, women are going to reflect the energy that you bring to them, basically, right? So curiosity is such a great tool, not even just in dating and women, but just in life in general. If you want to make new friends, if you want to, be more influential and make, better networking, it's just go with it, right? And the last thing I want to talk about is, this is something that the natural talks about, the chapter talks about, right? So Zan, he never experiences rejection, right? So I know it sounds too good to be true, but his method is he puts signals into the world, right? He puts invitations out in the world, which this is like such a cool concept to me when I read it and I applied it, and it really worked, He puts invitations in the world. He never asks for anything. He never asks for her phone number. I mean, I don't know if this is 100% true. There probably are occasions where he does, but he never asks if she's free, if she has a boyfriend, if she's single, if she would like to go for a coffee. He never does any of that. So he never gets rejected because there's no way he can. Instead, what he does is he uses the power of making a statement, right? And this is such a cool idea, because how many guys do this, right? How many guys have the confidence that, instead of asking like, hey, would you like to get a coffee with me? Or hey, would you like to get a drink? They just say instead, hey, we should get a coffee sometime, or we should get a drink sometime, and just leave it out there. They just say, hey, we should blah, blah, blah sometime. Or even better, I would really love to see you again. That's the invitation. He's putting it out there, and he's putting the ball in her court, which I love this, guys. And this, I'm telling you right now, if it takes some time to get used to, because we've been programmed to think like you have to ask her all these questions, you have to do investigating, you have to, make sure you ask her the right way. Fuck all that. Seriously, fuck all that. This is so much easier. It's kind of like, I guess, the lazy man method, because you're putting the ball in her court. So if she's really interested in you, you're going to get a response like, yeah, I would like that, or yeah, here's my number, right? And then blah, 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 take it down, or yeah, I would really like to have coffee, or yeah, that sounds like fun, stuff like that. And then that she's interested. But on the flip side, if you get a response like, I have a boyfriend, or sorry, it's just not going to work out, okay, you put the ball in her court, you showed up as a man, and she is not interested, and then you move on. So it's really a beautiful thing, putting invitations in the world. I want you guys to try it. Let me know in the comments below if you like that advice, that really helped me from the book, and let me know if you have any experience with that. And that's it for this video, guys. This is only part 1 of the chapter The Natural in Zan Perrion, the Alabaster Girl. So I will talk to you guys next time. Peace.